This conference will now be recorded.
So we are discussing about the property optimization, right? So property optimization or the exposing, both are same. So in interviews, they'll be asking you this kind of question: how to optimize a property or how to expose any of the blob data. So how can we just open any of the property from which is in the page list? So these kind of questions you might be getting. So for each and everything, the technique will be same. So optimization or exposing is a technique where we can able to make this data to be visible in the database. Okay, if at all if you are trying to optimize a single property, so let me open this. So if I just open any of the single value property, if it is in the blob or anywhere, so it has to be created with one new column. So if I just try to optimize this property, so if I just make use of this automatically, so the main table responsible for this class has to be having one age column, so added at the last. So for each and every property we have to optimize it separately, so there is no option for us. So this will be very easy in comparison with the uh, page list properties. If at all if we're trying to make use of any of the page list properties, so we have already created one page list, I think. So this is the page list property. So with the page list, if I just run the work object and in certain page, if we are trying to enter multiple values under first name, we'll be having, we can able to have multiple values, and for the first name we can able to have one value, two value, three values. So if I just want to optimize all these values for one work object ID, it will be very difficult for us if we follow the earlier approach. So if we want to optimize this first name property, so during runtime for the work object, that is chg1, will be having this first name property with multiple values. So dependent details page list of one dot first name will be something. So dependent details page list of two dot first name will be something. So for the first name property, we are having multiple values within one work object ID. So in that case, it will not be possible to maintain one column within one table. So in that case, what PRPC will be doing is PRPC will be automatically creating one table in the backend. Okay, so the process is same. So if we just optimize the first name property, PRPC will be automatically creating one table dedicated to this page list. So whenever the property is getting optimized, so new table will be created and it will be having this property, this first name value as an column in the new table creating. If at all if we're trying to optimize the second property within the page list, so it will not be creating again new table. So it will be using the same table which will be dedicated only for this particular page list, and there it will be adding one more column for that. Okay, so optimizing is same. So right click on the necessary property and click this one. So for the single value property or the page list value property, technique is same. So if it is a page list, PRPC can able to easily identify, and it will be thinking that it has to create one extra table for that. So that table we technically call as an index table. Okay, so whenever we are creating the new work object ID after the index table is getting created, so what PRPC has to do, it has to store all the necessary information in the blob data, and parallelly it has to just check the value. It has to just update the page list value which is being stored in the blob, has to be updated same in the necessary index table also. So that will be monitored by a declare index rule. Okay, so whenever we are trying to optimize this wizard will be coming. So if we just click on next, we'll be having one dedicated index table created, and that table has to be continuously monitored by one rule. So for the declare index rule also will be created. So in the declare index rule, this page list as well as the index table mapping will be happening. Okay, so if I'm trying to optimize this, so here we have to select few things. So the first name property is being used here as well as here. So it's up to you. If you want to have this used in all the applications, in all the classes of your application, you can able to have it. Okay. And it is asking us to select the rule set name. So I can able to go with this one. So click create and open. So where it has to create all the declare rules, that's what it is asking. So click on next. Again, click next. Okay. So here it is creating one index class. So if whatever the data we are having created, what are the table that is being created in the backend, if we want to access the data from the front end, that is in the user interface, we have to access only with the class names. So for that, one class will be created. So this will be the index class. Okay, so the index tables will be created, and the class with the same thing will be created with the index as the prefix. So uh, this will be the class that will be created automatically as part of this wizard. Okay, and this is the first name property what we are trying to do, and this will be the index rule. Okay, so if you click on finish, so what PRPC will be doing, PRPC has to modify the existing work table. So in the work table, we'll be having all the necessary information stored, right? So that information has to be pulled out, and it has to create the new data table, and it has to save it. So it has to make modifications to the existing table, that is altering the table, and then after it has to create new column, it has to create the new table first, and there it has to update the columns as per the things you are defining here. So if we click on finish, table will be created in the backend, and there will be one column here. And if you want to optimize the another property within the page list, you have to do the same process. So click on finish. So we have to wait for sometime like 30 seconds or 1 minute. And if we open the database, we can able to see the new dedicated table created for that. So the table name will be index dash chg dash, the corresponding class which is referring to this. So this will be referred to this class, right? So index dash chg dash data dash basic details. So that will be the class name there. If at all, if you are creating optimizing the single value property, then it will not be creating any new table. So in the existing worker class table only, it will be having one column added at the last. So that is the difference. So for one page list, one separate table will be created. So if I just have 3 or 4 page list, and if it is having 3 or 4 tables for that, so if I create the new work object ID, all the work pages data has to be stored into the blob data first, and then after PRPC will be picking up the page list 1 data has to be stored into index table 1, and page list 2 data has to be stored into index table 2. So this will be continuously monitored by an declare index rules. So for each and every index table, there will be one declare index rule created, and this page list and the declare index table will be linked in the declare index rule. Okay, so I tried to access the another database earlier, so I have to restart the server, else it will not work. So if we just check in the database, there will be one class called, so there will be one table like this. So pr underscore index underscore chg dash data dash basic details. So there will be one table created in, there will be one table created. So you can able to just check for this table. In this table, we will be having one column with the first name property. So there will be many OOTB properties, many OOTB columns there, and at the last we will be having the first name property what we are trying to just optimize now. So if you want to have the age property as well, okay, then what you have to do, you have to do the same process again. So if you just click on this, it will not be creating any new dedicated table for this, or it will not be creating any new declare rule or the class. So it will be making use of the existing class, since one table has been created for this page list. Okay, so after you creating optimizing the age property, then you will be then you can able to just check here, you will be having one more age column created at the last. So initially first name will be there, then after age will be there. If you want to optimize each and everything, you can able to do that. Process is same. There you will be having one table linked there, only one table will be there for one page list. Okay, so if you want to just check for the, where is it? Yeah, So if you just check for the declare index rule that is created, you can able to see. So one declare index rule will be created automatically. So the responsibility of this declare index rule is like, so whenever the page list value is getting updated, so this declare index rule will be triggered. So earlier we were working with all the declarative rules. We have seen about declare expression constant on change, right? So these three will be related to the properties, and declare trigger we have seen, and declare index. So what it will be doing, this is also checking for the database table only. So it will be monitoring one of the page list here. So this is the page list. So if any of the value of this page list is getting changed, automatically this table, so the table and the class linking will be there. So this is the class name, and the table which is responsible for this class has to be triggered out. Okay. So this declare index rule will be continuously monitoring this page list, and for this page list we have one class linked. So with this class name it will be automatically updated there. Okay. So for if I have three page lists, three separate index rules will be created, where each and every page list will be connected to its own index class. So that is the reason it will be updating correctly in the table. So this will be an interview, one interview question they'll be asking you. So if I just have three tables optimized, and how PRPC will be knowing the page list one data has to be stored into table one only. So where it will be linking, so where this checking will be happening. So these kind of questions you will be getting. Okay, so that will be happening because of the declare index rule. Declare index rule will be having mapped with one page list as well as the class. So as soon as we have the class details obtained, we can able to identify the table name linked for this. So it will be storing the data only into that table. Okay. Similarly, if you are trying to optimize for the single value property also, the process is same, but it will not be creating separate table for that. It will be just creating one extra column. So if we just want to make our database to be optimized, if we expose it to third party, we can able to go with this approach. Usually you will not be getting these kind of requirements, but if at all, if someone asks in interview, this will be the best question, best answer. Clear, right? Any doubts on this optimization? Clear, no? Okay, so now we'll discuss about deployment and building. So what is deployment and what is building? So after we are done with the project release, so we'll be having in terms of sprints, or you might be having in terms of waterfall as well. So once we are done with our release, the development, it has to be deployed into QA server first. So then after, if QA sign off is completely done, or if QA is showing, if QA is throwing some errors, what we have to do, we will be creating the new version for that, and we'll be fixing the issues into that server, into that version, and we will be again pushing the latest things to the uh, deployment. So then they can able to see the fixes whether we are doing it correctly or not. Once they give the sign off, whatever the code we are developing here after the QA fixes, it has to be moved to the UAT. So UAT team has also need to check from their end. Okay, so there will be servers. Development server will be there, development environment will be there, QA environment will be there, UAT environment will be there, pre-prod and prod. So pre-prod is just an option. Most of the projects may have or may not have. So after QAT, after UAT, they might be having directly prod in some cases. So in each and every stage, there should be some deployment happening. So deployment happening meaning whatever the code we are developing, it has to be moved to the QA server. So then only QA will be doing. So QA will not be given with the same URL. Okay, so this is just completely development URL. So our environments will be different, QA environments will be different, asset environments will be different, UAT environments will be different. Okay. So once we are done with our coding, what we have to do, it has to be initially sent to the deployment for the QA testing. So in that case, what the developers has to do, so developers has to take one build copy. So what are all the rules we're trying to work on? So those are to be taken and those are to be sent for the deployment team. So deployment team, what it has to do, so it has to deploy onto their QA servers. So once the deployment or the build is completely done, QA people has to start testing with their URL. So their URLs will be different. Our URLs will be different. Okay. So with their URLs, they have to test it, and they will be identifying some defects, or they might be giving the sign off. So once that is done, again, the same code has to be deployed to UAT. So UAT people will be testing, users will be testing from their end, and then after they give any sign off, it has to be moved to the production. So in each and every phase, deployment has to be happen. So deployment might be, they're taking a build copy. So whatever the thing where we can able to do as a developers is like just taking the build copy, and even this will not be done by you mostly. Only leads or the LSS will be doing this. So what they will be doing is they will be just taking the build of our application and they will be sending it to the deployment team. That will be zip folder. So they'll be sending it to them and they will be deploying into their servers, QA servers. So in order to take the build copy of whole application, what we have to do is we have to go to configure and application. So there will be something like a package. So we have to take the package file here. So click on that. We will be getting one wizard. So this is also very simple. So it's completely done with an wizard. Okay. So since we are doing it from the implementation application, we'll be having the application name only. And here we have to select the rule set name and rule version. So for every rule to be created, so there should be one rule and version, right? So even the product rule, the package rule, what we're trying to create. So if we just click on next, one package will be created. So even that has to be created in some rule set. So that is what it is asking us to select. So what is the product file we are getting at the final? It has to be stored into which version? That is what it is asking. So let me save it to the latest one. So click next. So by default, based on the application name, it will be picking up all the necessary applications. The implementation application, the framework application, and this is the OOTB UI kit. So if you select it or don't select it, also no issues. Why? If you unselect it, also no issues. Why? Because this build copy has to be stored into somewhere in the pega versions only, right? So QA pega versions also will be having UI kit. So this is just an optional. It's up to you. So usually will not be making any changes here. If you want to uncheck it, also no issues. So click on next. So it will be picking up all the rules from the implementation application as well as the framework application. You need not make any changes here. So click on next. Okay. So here it will be, here we have already organized our application with unit layer, division layer, and the organization layer. So we need not any categorize again. So click next. So what are all the access group we have created in our application? You still want to carry it or not? So that is what it is asking. So I want to carry all these rule sets, access groups what I have created. So click next. And these are all the operators. So if you want to carry all these operators, click next, else no. Why? Because what are all the operators we are trying to create, like insurance one, claiming one. So these are all the testing operators. These are being created for the testing and the development only. But in the real time, so real time, who will be the operators? Only the real representatives, those they will be the operators, right? So in that case, operators will not be moved in any in any possible ways. So usually what they will be doing is what are the operators we are trying to create that will be applicable only for the development environment. So QA team will be having their own operator IDs for their testing, and the real-time users, user acceptance in the UAT testing, they will be having their own operator IDs, and production also they will be having their own operator IDs. So if I just pass even this operator IDs also in the production, these will be applicable. So I can able to log in and I can able to make some changes. So which should not be the case. So that is the reason operator IDs which are being used as in testing will not be moved to the next environment. Okay. So click on next. So work queues or work baskets, we can able to send it, no issues at all. So these are also no issues. Click on next simply. So data tables. So data tables, you are trying to make use of this hospital data table, these values. If you want to carry it, you can able to carry it, else you can able to click on next. Why? Because for the testing purpose, for the state values, we can able to have it. Okay. For state values, whatever the values we are putting it in the dev environment will be equal to that state values what we're getting in the production. So in that case, you can able to go for this table creation. Else there will be cases where we will be having table created only for the testing purpose. So in that case, if you don't want to carry the data, you need not pass it. So that's up to you. So this is also not required. Click next. Okay, so these are all the things it will be taking care. Click on next again. So it will be taking one email account, one service package rule, one file listener. So two file listeners are created. So that's okay. So click next. Okay, so this is the place where it is trying to create one product rule or the package rule. So if you want to make any modifications to this, you can able to click on product rule. So actually this is the one what we have to share it to the deployment team. So we are trying to just take the build of it, but deployment is not being done from our end. So we're trying to take the just a build copy, and this build copy, that is a zip folder, has to be shared to the next team, so they will be carrying it. So this is our product file. Here, if you want to make any modifications, we have to do it. Meaning, I want to move to the deployment for only version number 2 and 4. Version number 1 is already moved to the deployment. And if I'm in a requirement to make the deployment from only version number 3 and version number 5, then you can able to include it here. Minimum version you can able to include, maximum version you can able to include it. So if you're not including anything, it will be picking up all the versions starting from version 01, 01, 01. Okay, so for the first time there will not be any issue at all. Okay, for the first time we have to send all the necessary versions, right? And from the second time, if you want to send only version number 2 or 3, then you have to specify it here. Okay, so these are all the things that it will be creating. So access groups, work baskets, class structure, everything it will be taking care. So if you just click on save, it will be creating one product file. I mean, if we just click on this button, product file will be created. Product file is just a zip file, that is just that we consider it as a build file, and we have to share it to the deployment. And before that, there will be something like an allow unlocked rule sets. So there will be one option here. In interest, they might be asking, so what is the importance of this checkbox? So if I check this, even though if any of the rule is being unchecked, so we know there are many rules. So these are all the rules that are still in the unchecked mode. Okay, I did not check in all this, but still I'm trying to move all the necessary rules to the deployment. Okay, so there will be cases where you have to make this follow this approach also. So if you want to if you don't want to make these particular things to be moved to the next team, next deployment, without you checking in, you have to uncheck this. Then if you click on save, we'll be getting such error. If I just click on create product file, so it has to complete the 100%. So these are all the rule sets which are still having unchecked rules. So that's what it is asking. Since we are unchecking this, it will not be allowed. So if I just click on this, even though if it is having unchecked rule sets, it will be following up. So if I just click on save, so it has to be done. So if we click on product file now, so it has to be successfully downloaded. Okay, so one product file has been created. If you click on this, that will be automatically saved into your downloads. So it should be created in your downloads. So that will be just a zip file. So that zip file has to be shared to the next team. So it might be imported in their QA server or any other thing. So even that can be done from our end as well. So if you just click on this one, sorry, if you just click on configure, and if you click on this one, So here we'll be having one option called import. So if we just click here, whatever the downloaded file we have, we can able to simply upload it here. If we just click on upload and click on next, so that application has to be created. Okay, so this is how deployment will be happening, and there might be some questions on this. So if you want to allow the merging to be happening, okay, even if you are having unchecked rule sets, you have to mark this. You have to uncheck this. You have to mark this. So if you want to just discard, or if you want to just update all the rules at a time, what we have to do is, so we have to open this one and we have to check in or discard, right? So I cannot able to do all this at once during time of deployment. So deployment team will be putting us much pressure. So they'll be just asking us to give that build file as soon as possible. So in that case, what we'll try to do is we'll be just going to the bulk actions here, and here we can able to check in all the rules at once. First thing what we have to do, we have to open this one, either check in or discard there, right? So if it is unchecked, sorry, if it is not checked in, it will not be allowed in the deployment. Why? Because this will be stopping that. Okay, so usually this will be unchecked. So if this is unchecked, then deployment will not happen. So in that case, what they has to do is they has to check in all the necessary things. So in that case, we can able to go for bulk actions at once. So you have to select all these and enter some comments. So insert, all this will be inserted for all the rules. So now you click on check-in. So since this is checked in, it will be checking. So each and every rule has to be checked in automatically. So this is not checked in, you can able to see, meaning, so this is not the latest version and we're trying to make some modifications here. So check-in will not be possible. So in that case, we have to discard this one. We have to just check for the changes. If our changes are really there or not. If it is there, then you have to save as with the latest version. I think this is not the latest version, or it might be the latest only. So these are all the failed ones. We have to discard the changes. So just refresh this. We'll be having these three. So just to select all these, enter the comments and discard. Okay. So in this way, we can able to check in or check out or discard the multiple rules at once. So using this bulk wizard. So there are no checked in rules. You can able to see the same here in the application rule set also. So this is how deployment process will be done. So first what they will be doing is they will be just opening the existing rule set. What are the rules they want to move to the deployment? They will be just checking whether there are any open checked out rules or not. So if there is at least one checked out rule, deployment should not be happening because based on the checkbox what we are checking there. Okay. So if you want to just check it, we can able to see what is the rule set that is still there. Okay, you can able to open it and you can able to discard it. It's already discarded. Okay, so this is how we can able to just check for the things. Okay, clear? Any doubts? Clear, no? Talani?
Yeah. Chandra, I have some doubts. Deployment, you have checked something with the sessions and edit validate rule, right? So
Where
there are so many of them list at the display, right? The deployment at the last while building the application, you did at the final stage. Can you show me again?
Okay. The wizard itself or the last one?
At the last one, while building, you removed some of the properties.
I did not remove properties. I have just removed the operators. That's it, not the properties. So without the properties, it will not be working, no? So without
Yeah.
properties, it will not be there, and the remaining rules will not work. So I have just unchecked only the operator IDs, nothing more than that. So everything, each and everything I have made as it is. So in this step number 6, operators I have just unchecked. Why? Because in the development server, we are the operator IDs. We are creating this claims 1 or claims 2 at the rate CHG. So this is just for a testing purpose. Okay. But the real-time users will not be having these kind of operator IDs. They will be having with their employee IDs. Okay. So if the representative 1 or bank representative 1 is trying to create some work object IDs, it should be created with his own operator ID. Okay, so if the claims 1 is also imported into the production, I know the username as well as I know the password. I can able to make any modifications, no? So this will be happening illegally. So security issues will be there. So that is the reason I have removed only the operators, nothing more than that.
Okay. Can
So
you
that is
show
your
me that options again, sorry?
okay. So access group not we can able to pass it. So this is the operator ID. So I'm trying to uncheck all the things. So this is the operator ID what we have created for the insurance application. These two are for the or implementation applications. These are for the HR, right? HR, right? So this is the thing I'm trying to uncheck it. If you want to check it also, no issues, no problem in that. So even in the production, we can able to access this operator IDs. Claims1 at the rate chg.com will be working there. So that should not be the case. That's it. Clear, no? Or you want me to show again completely?
Yeah, again. Yeah.
Again, you want me to take the copy?
Yeah, entire process, like there is some option listed at the last at the build, right?
Okay. Here? Here or not?
No.
Okay.
Okay, after this only I have.
Okay. So this is the product file, what we call. Here or that's it. If you just click on this, it will be working.
Okay. There is in after this deployment, you shown me here like edit, validate, something like that. The whatever the methods we worked on it, it is displayed on, and some of the built, everything is built status. So you have removed some of the options there. Okay, I'll check with the videos, Chandra, because I don't know exactly, but these are all the process I understand. But finally, you have removed some of the boxes to be unchecked.
Only in the operators I have done, I think, right? If you just click on this one, we'll be having the build copy created completely. So
Okay.
only in the operators I have made changes. Okay, just check for the video. If you have any doubt, you can let me know.
Okay. Okay, Chandra.
Okay. So you have any doubts, Salani?
No, Chandra. Chandra,
Yeah.
can you explain what is rule skimming?
So okay, you want that?
No, actually, I when I was going through, I saw that one, but what was explaining there, I didn't understand it.
Yeah, skimming is just a process where it will be removing the unwanted rule sets. So if I just have this particular customer details section rule, let us say, so this section rule might be there in the version number 1, 2, 3, 4 till 10. Okay, so if any of the rule is there from the version number 1 to 10, and if I'm trying to take a build copy for all the versions, so in the build copy, if I'm not selecting the minimum and maximum version, what it will be doing, it will be selecting all the things, right? Okay, so it will be selecting all the things, and in there what it has to do, it will be taking the version number 1 of the customer details section, version number 2, version number 3, version number 4. It has to take each and every rule. Okay, see, but it is not it is not useful to have all the first 9 versions. Only 10th version will be applicable for me. Skimming is the process where it will be removing the unwanted instances of the particular rule. Okay.
Okay. So, Chandra, when we are like moving from one version to a higher version, so do we have to do that skimming?
Skimming will be done automatically. With this wizard, we can able to do automatically, and mostly, if at all, if you want to do it done manually, then it will be done by the LSS only. So we will not be doing anything as part of this build copy. Based on the versions what we select, skimming will be done automatically.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Any other doubts?
No. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
So
Chandra, and I have one more doubt. Like when we worked on expressions, we worked some of the 2-3 functions, right? So can you give me some
okay,
notes like what are all the expressions and what are all the built-in functions we need to work for string and then conversions, parse string, like that? Can you give me some ideas?
sorry, Uma, can you come again? So when you're working with expressions, okay,
Declared expressions, right?
we are
So we
using
have
the
used
function
some
library.
date function and string
Uh,
function, pause
mm,
function, like that. So what are all the main methods we will be worked on with our
that's
projects? Can you give me some ideas?
no, that depends upon the project requirement only, no. So it might be my project might be using mathematical operations. Okay, suppose if I just want
Okay.
to go with an EMI calculation, so there I will be going with the mathematical operation. There I have to make use of the maths library. Okay, but you might not be going with the usage of this particular maths library, so we cannot able to predict that. So for sure there will be
Okay.
something like a future date, past date, so this will be common each and everywhere. But there will be
Okay, sir.
cases where we will be going with the mathematical operations, or where there will be cases where we have to identify the string related things. So that depends upon the project only, Uma. We cannot able to predict that.
Okay, so for the interview point of
Interview,
questions,
they
so
will not be asking it all this.
which will be focused mainly date function?
Interview function library, they'll be just asking whether you have knowledge or not, but mostly which function, what will be the thing you will be using. So these kind of typical questions they will not ask you. So what are all the questions they'll try to ask you from this like functions, meaning how to call a decision table from a decision tree. So how to call one decision tree from a decision table. So here we have to make use of this function library only. So these kind of questions they will be asking. We will be using px evaluate tree, px evaluate decision table. So these kind of functions we'll be using, right? So these kind of questions only you'll be getting asked. So they'll
Okay.
not ask you how to call, how to identify the length of the string. So this will be very small questions. So you can able to understand it 1 minute of time. So they will not be asking you these kind of things. They'll be just asking you what is the function that will be used for calling a decision table from a decision tree. So what is the
Okay.
necessary table? What is the necessary function? Okay, so these kind of questions you might be getting.
Okay.
So px evaluate decision tree is the one, px evaluate decision table. Okay, if at all if you want to call one activity from a decision tree, sorry, one activity from a data transform, how to use that? So these kind of questions, this kind of there will be making use of this OOTB function library. Okay, so these kind of generic they will be asking you. So they'll not don't specifically think related to our project only. Our project might be having mathematical functions, they might not be having. Okay, so they will not be asking anything specific related to this. They'll be just asking you what is the function responsible for calling a map rule, what is the function responsible for calling a data transform. So these will be the things they'll be asking.
Okay. Okay, Chandra, thanks.
Yeah. So any other doubts? We have completed our course actually. So if you want me to explain any of the topics, I can able to do that. Or if you want me to cover any of the small topics also, if you have any doubts, we can able to continue on that. Okay. So if you want me to explain any of the topic, so usually interviews will be depending based on the type of project what they are using. So whatever the project we are covering now, it will be related to it is completely generic. Meaning if you might be going to them scratch project, or you might be going to them already developed project that is like an enhancement, or you might be going to the production support. Okay. So production support may not be making use of all the rules what we are trying to create. So they will not be making use of the UI rules. So paragraphs they might not be using. Okay, they will be just bothering about the basic things only, like integrations mostly or normal things. And the scratch projects, what they will be having, they will be having mostly activities and the data transforms to be used high level. And the normal projects might be using the front-end development technologies mostly. So depending upon the project, there will be UI related projects, there will be back-end development projects, there will be integration projects also. So whatever the project might be, they will be having only these kind of basic questions what we're discussing so far. And if you are just confident enough to explain each and everything, so first they will be asking you what are all the rules you worked on. So in the very first question, you have to be in a position to be answering all the things. So you have to jot down, you have to make a list of all the rules what you are confident enough. So include for everything, like an activities you are confident enough, data pages or the report definitions or the decision trees, decision table. So they will not be asking you more, extra questions on out of our discussion. So if we can able to answer everything in the well confident way what we're discussing now, if we can able to answer it in that way also, it will be more than enough. Why? Because I'm sure that you will not be showcasing yourself as more than 3 years of experience. Correct, right? So you're trying to showcase yourself as more than 3 years experience.
No.
Mostly less than 3 or less. I mean between 3 to 4 only mostly. So in that case of scenarios, are you trying to showcase yourself, Tulani, as more experienced?
No, Shraddha.
Okay. So in that case,
If I added like a 1 year, then how it will be? So it's very junior level. How the opportunities will be?
so you are planning for an internal project movement or out of company?
Out of company.
So out of
Like,
company, if you're planning here, that will be depending upon two factors. That is your overall experience. So if it is like an internal movement, this will be very, very easy. So whatever the discussion we are having, in that 20% of knowledge is enough. If you are trying to plan for an internal movement, if you're working in a Java project now, if you want to plan internally, that will be very easy. But if you're planning to shift for a new company, then there will be two factors. The overall experience they will be carrying. So overall, if you're having like in something like 10 place, so they will be just thinking that you should be in a position to handle the project, although you might be having something like an less experience in pega, like 1 or 2 years, you will be given a bit less preference compared to other people. Why? Because uh, they should be for sure paying you some extra salary, right? You should be getting some extra hike if you shift in another company. And
okay.
for that, they will be expecting that you should be of an CCA level, as well as you should be in a position to handle one team. So that is what they will be expecting. So although you showcase yourself that I'm fresher, I mean, you should not be saying you're the fresher here. You should be saying that you are at least 2 to 3 years of experience. So whatever the knowledge you are having with our training, that will be well enough to showcase yourself as 3 years experience minimum. So you should be confident enough. So if they just ask you explain about the decision tree or decision table, what are the examples or what are the discussion we are doing, you have to tell you very confidently. So if you practice it 2 to 3 times, it will be enough. So the thing what they will be looking here is, are you familiar with most of the rules or not? That is one thing. And the second thing is, you have to be minimum of 2 years experience. 3 years experience is preferable. So 2 to 3 years experience is okay, but overall experience might be uh, a bit carrying for them. So they might be thinking that you should be in a position to handle one team maybe after 6 months or maybe after 1 month, sorry, 1 year. So these kind of expectations they'll be putting on you. So even though if you showcase yourself as 2 years experienced itself, so they'll be first testing the knowledge. So they'll be just asking you what are all the rules you worked on and what is the application and what is the what is the model, Scrum model or the waterfall model. So these kind of basic questions they will be asking you. And now requirement on Pega is very, very high compared to any other technology. Requirement on Pega is very high. So projects are increasing rapidly, exponentially. So compared to any other technologies due to this COVID, okay. So other technology project opportunities are getting reduced day by day, but Pega projects are increasing. So this is because of lack of resources. And next thing is huge demand. Projects are increasing day by day. Okay. So even though if we are not performing well based on the project requirement, so there will be having immediate requirement based on the project requirement. If we can able to at least put minimum effort in the interview, that will be enough. Compared to any other technology, this is the best advantages for us. Okay, and I sincerely suggest you to blindly follow our application. If they just ask you what is the application you worked on, you simply say this. Okay, and if you visualize and if you say only, then you can able to be confident enough in saying, that's for sure, right? And what are all the rules you worked on? So these kind of questions they will be putting you first. So there you have to say something like, you put the very confident rules first. So if you are very confident in the data pages, you can able to put it. So there, based on the data pages, they will be asking you the first questions. They'll be asking you what is the type, sorry, what are the scopes, and what are all the differences between data pages and the report definition. And if I just create one data page for the node scope, so will it be applicable for the rest of the people or not? So these kind of data pages, I'm sorry, these kind of questions on data pages will be getting. So I think we had very much discussion about the data pages. If you're really confident enough, you can able to put it in the first one. Okay, so based on the things only, they'll be asking you questions. So if you just put some activity, they'll be asking you what is the difference between OBJ methods and the RDB methods, and how to call one validate rule, and how to call one data transform rule. Okay, and how to go for looping. So everything, most of the things will be under our discussions only. But you have to be confident enough, since we are trying to showcase ourselves as minimum of 2 to 3 years experience, right? Even interviewers will be knowing that 90% of the people who come for an interview will be often fake candidates only. So even everywhere, not only in India or Western countries, everywhere, because of the lack of resources, everyone has to project themselves as 2 to 3 years of experience. So with that experience, even interviewers can able to identify by just talking to us for 1 minute. Okay, even I can able to identify by just discussing with anyone for 1 minute. I can able to understand whether he is really experienced or he is just trying to learn something and he's trying to show himself as a 2 to 3 years experience. So even interviewers can able to easily identify, but even they don't have any option from their end. So since requirement is very high and less number of resources, and if we just go with the less package also, it will be advantageous for you. Okay, if you're having 10 years of experience, overall 10 years of experience, for sure you should be going for an extra hike, right? So in that case, what they will be thinking, so people, so this person is only 2 years of pega experienced and she's trying to have some extra package apart from the existing one. So then they will be have getting a question, so is she really required for us or not? So uh, since we are in a position to get the job immediately, so my request is to not to put extra hike on the existing one. And second thing is, you have to be very confident enough in the rules what we are trying to discuss. Okay, so you just include each and everything what we have discussed there. You try to each and include everything in the rules. So you are confident enough in the circumstancing, correspondence, data pages, decision rules. So they will be asking you what is a declarative network. So if they just ask you this question, you can able to explain all the 5 rules at once. Okay, if you're confident enough, you will not be giving a chance for them to put the next question. So in the declarative network only, you can able to make them stay for 5 to 10 minutes. You can able to say that we have 5 declarative rules, that is 3 with the properties and 2 with the data tables. So declare index rule will be created when we are working with an optimization. So then they will be asking questions on optimization. Okay, so this kind of approach what you have to follow. So this comes based on the practice only. You just go for 2 to 3 interviews. So I'm sure after 2 to 3 interview, you may not be getting in the first interview, and you may not be getting in the second, you may not be getting the third, but from the fifth interview you can able to get it very easily. Okay, so what are the questions they're asking? So you should be in a position to stay on them, I mean stay on the answer what you know. So they should be in a position to stay on the answer what you know. So if you're telling something, so you have to make them to ask a question on the topic what you know only. So in that way we have to mesmerize them. Okay, so if you just put data pages, they'll be asking you much things about the data pages only. Okay, so you can able to say that we can able to call a data page from the activity using load data page. Then they will be asking you, they'll start asking you questions on activities then. Okay, so the very first thing, if you just say that you have worked on activities, they'll be asking you the difference between OBJ and RDB. and how to call an activity into another activity. What's the difference between call, branch, queue? So these kind of questions only. Everything will be under our discussions on, I mean, mostly. So if they're having any specific project related to user interface, then they might be asking you something about skin rule, okay, or something about the autocomplete or the multi-select. So there will be some controls. So if any project is completely dedicated to your user interface, if it's already developed project, so they will be having only user interface. Migration will be there. Okay. So if it's completely developed project, what they will be doing? They will be having existing user interface, and that has to be changed to the new one. So new look. So in that case, they will be looking for the people who will be well knowledge in the user interface part. Okay. So they'll be just asking you questions on skin rule as well. Okay. Skin rule meaning where we can able to apply the styles across all the applications. Okay. So let me tell you that as well. So if I just open the application, here will be having something like a skin. So here we can able to apply the styles for each and every control. So by default, if I open any of the dynamic layout, so if I just open that control, what will be having options? Will be having double, stacked, inline, double git, triple git, right? So all the options we are getting it from the skin rule only. Okay. So if at all, if we want to have something like an first row as 20% and next row as 30%, so there will be in the user interface projects will be having these kind of requirements on. So if I just click this one, what we can able to see here, we can able to see the preview as well. So this particular control, what we will be doing, will be selecting in the dynamic settings of the settings of the dynamic layout, right? So you understanding, no? So there we'll be selecting these things. If I just select this one, if I just include 6 controls, so first control will be taking 30% and second will be taking 70%. Okay, so these are these are all over TV. If at all, if I want to have something like an 40% the first one and 60% second one, what do you have to do? So there will be one skin rule applicable across the application. So this will be across application level. Okay, if I just make any modifications to the skin rule, that will be applicable to each and every control of that particular application. So if I'm just using something like, if I'm trying to create new one, so you can able to add the new one. Okay, so you can able to add the new one here. So here we can able to add the new one, and then we can able to give the name. It will be looking like this. So their new name can be given like inline grid 4070, so 4060. Okay, here we can able to give the make the modifications. Okay, so once we make the modifications, we will be having one new thing created here. Okay, and this new thing can be added to the particular dynamic layout. So what are all the controls, text controls you put in the dynamic layout will be having 60, 40 and 60. Okay, and if you want to change the color also, it is possible. If you want to make the modifications like this, so if this has to be coming side by side, so you can able to explore all these. So mostly if they're asking about specific to user interface, they might be asking questions something related to skin. Okay, if you want to make some modifications to the text boxes, you can able to do for each and everything. So if the radio buttons want to be looked something like an this one, you can able to make changes. So you can able to just check for the uh, preview, and you can able to make the modifications. So there we are trying to select one segmented radio button, right? You can able to remember. So this is how it will be looking like. If at all, if you want to change the colors, if you want to change the borders, if you want to change the radius, on mouse over you can able to see some changes. If you want to change the color, you can able to do everything. Whatever the thing you want, you can able to do it. So everything happens on the skin rule only. Okay, and if you don't want to apply it across the skin rule, if you want to apply it from the user interface directly, also you can able to do that. So for the testing purpose, what we'll be doing usually is we'll be just opening the particular thing. Let me run this. Okay, so my requirement here is I should be having this text box having space between basic details heading and this one. So if I just want to have include some space here, so what I have to do, I have to include it in the flow rule, I mean skin rule only. So in the skin rule for the text boxes, so you can able to go with a maximum width height. So you can able to have the border space here or border color, or if you want to add some extra styles, you can able to do that everything from here itself. So here you can able to add something like a margin top is equal to so and so. So this how much you can have to give it, we can able to identify by the testing itself here. So live UI, if I open the live UI, so I'm trying to open the control directly from here, and for each and every control there will be something like a presentation tab. Here you can able to add something like an advanced presentation. Here you can able to add something like this one. So margin top is equal to 25 pixels or something. So if I just save this, we can able to have some space included between this particular control and the above margin. So this is just for the testing purpose. Why? Because you should not be including the inline styling even in the normal HTML also. So you understanding me? We have knowledge on this. So there will be two types of styling. So the inline styling and the normal CSS styling. So with this inline styling, so this will be just for the testing purpose. You can able to add it for the testing here, and you have to discard it, and then the same value has to be included here. Okay, so in the skin rules we can able to include it here. So if you're working in the UA projects, they'll be asking you these kind of questions, but mostly you may not be getting chance to work in UA. Okay, and they'll be asking you something about the autocomplete as well. So this will be happening mostly in the migration projects. So if you want to have something, there will be many outdated controls in the version number 7 or 6. So if they're migrating to version number 8, they will be asking us to have something like a latest controls. So there will be something like an autocomplete control and multi-select control. So if I just have a text box, okay, we have included one section for the dependent selections, right? So in the dependent selection, we can able to add multiple things. So dependent one first name will be there, second name, second person first name will be there. Likewise, we can able to include multiple things within one page list. If at all, if I want to include the first name properties in one drop down, so what are the values the customer is entering as a dependent list in the screen 1, in the screen number 2, if I want to show everything in the drop down dynamically, what we have to do? We have to go for drop down, and there we can able to have this particular page list as a source, or the clipboard page as a source. That is what we can able to do. And there will be cases where they will be asking us to go with an autocomplete. So you know the meaning of autocomplete, right? So just like our Google search only. So if we just start typing anything, automatically it will be populating the values based on the text we are searching, so that will be considered as an autocomplete. So similarly, there will be requirements where the dependent values what we are trying to select, so what the user is already selected. So if we just want to go with an autocomplete in the next screen, the customer is searching something like an SCA, then if there is any matching with the SCA like sample, it has to be populated like sample 1, sample 2, sample 3. What are the things matching with that, we can able to have it included. So these kind of questions you will be, I mean these kind of things you will be getting only based on the practice only. Okay, so in the real projects, there will be, if you're having something like UI development projects, this will be type of requirements you'll be getting. So in that case, they will be going for an questions asking on these rules. Okay, so you can able to try that, no issues. If you just take the multi-select or the autocomplete control, it will be asking us to go with an page list as the source. So whatever the dependent values we are selecting as an we are already having that given, that can be given as a source there. We can just simply give the page list, and we can able to define it in pages and classes if required, and we can able to have it like values populated automatically in the drop down, I mean in the autocomplete. Okay, so depending upon the project type, so if it is something like an file listener or email listeners applicable, then they will be asking you questions on those. So mostly it will not be there. So the agents also will not be there. So this will be mostly of a theoretical prospect only. So if they just include if you just include something like a file listener, so they will not be knowing anything mostly. Most of the projects will not be knowing anything. But if we just say that we are in our previous project we have worked on this file listener where one of the external agent will be sending the document in one of the file, and we will be automatically including or saving it in our database. So these kind of things, if we just visualize our existing project and if you try to answer it, even though they are, even though if they can identify that you are a fake resource, but they can identify, I mean, but they can able to see something like an learning skills in you. Okay, so in the very first thing, they can able to easily identify whether you are the real person or the less experienced people. So but they are forced to take, why? Because there are very less number of resources now. So that is the plus point for us. Okay. Okay, so any other doubts you want me to explain any topic or anything?
And one thing I want to specify, like when we create a profile, like so nowadays everybody is working on like a 7th version, right? So is it 8.1 is working everywhere, and how we need to prepare the resume
So
with
if
the
you are
scenarios?
if you are projecting yourself as 3 years experienced, then you have to say that you have work experienced in 7.3 version. That, I mean, 7.4 or in 1.7 version has to be mentioned. Why? Because this 8 version has been launched almost like 1.5 year back only. 8.1 version has been launched to in December 2019. Okay, sorry, December 2018. Okay, almost like 1.5 year back only. So if you are trying to project yourself that you are having complete 3 experience in 8.1 version, you will be caught there. Okay, so you have to showcase yourself that you are having almost like 2 years experience in 7.4 version, and from past 1.5 year I started working in 8.1 version. Okay, so mostly if they're having a uh, new projects getting started, they will be using 8.1 versions only, I mean 8 versions only. So they'll be just asking you questions on 8 versions only. So they'll be asking you, what did you find the difference between 7.7 version and 8 version? If they just really want to know, they will be asking these kind of questions. You can able to say that there will not be SMA applicable in the 8 version. Okay, and we'll be having directly admin studio here, and we can able to say the processing speed will be very high compared to 7.4. So these kind of small questions they can able to answer, and you can able to answer them. They will not be asking these kind of things, but projecting wise you have to be very clear. So this 8 version has been started from past 1.5 year only, and you have to project yourself that you have 1.5 year experience in 7.4 version and 1.5 experience in this 8 version. Okay, and you should be saying that I'm very much familiar with the 8.1 versions only. That's what you can able to say. So whatever the question they ask you, you can able to answer from the 8.1 version knowledge what we have. Okay. Is that your question, Amma?
Yes, yes, Chandra.
So you should be very confident. This has been started 1.5 year back only. So you should not say that for past 3 years you are working on 8.1 versions.
Okay.
And you try to visualize that you have worked in the medical insurance projects only. So nowadays medical health insurance projects are very high in demand now. Medical insurance and banking. Okay, so medical insurance is is very high in demand. You can able to say that you are working on the claims application, where you can able to have the member registered with us, where we can able to go with and claiming, and these are all the rules what we have worked on. So you have to shift the answer, I mean to shift the topic to the rules what you worked on. Okay, so then you can able to then they will be asking you what are the rules you worked on. From there you can able to start your things. Okay. You can able to include SLAs, you can able to include correspondence, everything. What are the thing we are discussing? So if you are very confident enough, you can able to include those. So mostly even the interviewers will not be knowing all the rules what we are trying to discuss, but there might be some specific rules which will be useful in their application, like user interface might be their specific things. They will be asking only those kind of related things, where they may not be asking you about the other related rules also. But in that case also you should be saying that I have my previous project is to have these kind of things, backend activity things mostly working on. I'm confident enough in all these but rules or some other rules. So I have the knowledge on all these rules but may not be having much hands-on on this. Given a chance I can able to prove myself. So this kind of easily diverting you have to do. So based on their projecting, they will be trying to expect something from you, right? So if it is something like an user interface project, so which will not be which will be very less cases usually. you can able to say that I have very good knowledge in designing the sections, very good knowledge in working with the skin rules and the corresponding stylings. But 90% of my project will be including only backend, backend logics only, where I work mostly on the data pages and the activities, data transforms. I have very less experience in the skin rules, but I'm very, but I have hands-on on all this. I can able to prove myself if given a chance. So these kind of questions you can able to handle it. Okay.
Okay, Chandra. And Chandra, do we have the interview preparation classes from tomorrow?
Interview meanings are the same topics has to be discussed again now. If you want me to explain what is data page, what are all the questions, so these are all discussed already. So it will be like an again saying the same only. So I just wanted to know you if you want to explain me any of the topic that I can able to do. So interview topic meaning each and every point might be interview question only. So deployment team, this might not be important in my project, but in other projects it might be important. And skin rule might not be important here. It might be important everywhere, any other place. So that is the thing. So each and every topic might be important. So it has to be explained with every topic again. So you can able to refer the videos, or if you want me to explain any of the topic, I can able to do that. So interview questions will be just like the topics what we have discussed only, no? So they'll be just asking you what is the importance of declare index. So we can able to start working, can able to start discussing about this property optimization. So even if we start working on this also, it will be explained with each and every topic again. So you can able to do that in the practice videos also. So videos you can able to refer and you can able to do that. If you're lacking in any topic, I can able to explain it.
Okay.
So they'll be just asking you what is data pages and how data pages are different from activities. So this is all that we have discussed, and we can able to we can able to start working. We can able to discuss the advantages of the activity. So sorry, data pages, and from there, if you're very confident enough about the activities, you can able to divert the topic to the activities from your end only. We can able to call the data pages from an activity using one of the method, and then they'll be start working on the activities. So interview questions will be very vast. Each and every topic has to be again covered. So that anyway you are given with the recordings, so you can able to manage it. So if you want me to explain, or if you're not confident enough in any of the concept, I can able to explain it again. So that is what I'm saying.
Okay. Okay, Chandra. So my one suggestion is so if they have asked me to explain about what you have done with the project, so I can start from the initial stage and what are all the ways I need to explain by each and steps. So you suggest me if I have a 3 years experience, so what I have worked for the first, so how many projects I can allotted for the 3 years, and so what are all the scenarios we have to split and we have to talk it. So if you guide me from the steps, it will be great to proceed.
So
What
we'll be asking based on the interview is, so what is your previous project and what are all the rules you worked on? So this will be common question for each and everyone. Okay, first they will be asking, expecting something about the type of project. So there on the first question itself, so you have to say something like that I have worked in the medical insurance project, where we will be having like an claiming, where user can able to claim the where user can able to claim some of the medical insurances for himself or for the dependents. For that we will be having many data pages created. So from there itself we have to start working with the introduction of the rules itself. Okay, so why? Because they are not bothered about the application, so they will be just taking you into their application by just having you testing the technical knowledge itself. So there you can able to say that like we are working in an claims application where we can able to claim for myself, for the person or for his dependents as well. So there will be having something like an if condition. If the applied person is an if or dependent or the page list, then we will be identifying the necessary condition and we'll be checking for the data page. And there we can able to call one external databases, or if you want to get the data from the internal database table, we can able to pull it. So these kind of analysis we have to do it. Okay.
Okay.
So from the very first question itself, we have to navigate them to the necessary rules. So then after they'll be asking you, so what are all the rules you worked on? So there you have to start with the best rule, not like an property creation or the section creation. So this will be very, very silly. I mean, compared to other rules, right? So you should be
Okay.
saying like very much confident enough in working with the activities or the data pages. So include something like correspondence, so SLA rules. So these kind of topics you include at the top. Okay, so if we
Okay.
just include something like an activity, sorry, section creation or the property creation, so this will be very silly. Even the 1 hour experienced people, I mean 1 hour trained people can able to do this. So this should not be the approach. So you have to
Okay.
showcase yourself like an data pages first to be projected, or the activities, or the data transforms, decision rules. You have to include decision rules. These are very important, and you have to include something like declarative rules as well. So you include all these major topics in the beginning. So one by one, they'll be start asking you questions. They'll be just asking you about the data pages initially. So from there itself, they will be asking you something like an activities. Okay. So if they just ask you how to call, if they just ask you explain about call method, you should be very speed in explaining remaining three methods also. Call method, sorry, call branch queue. Okay. So if they just ask you one question, if you are confident enough in explaining the rest of the things, you should be saying that as well.
Okay.
So rules projection is very important. So application what you worked on, so they'll be just trying to know that's it. But if you are very confident in saying the application explanation, so that will not be helping for them and for you also, no. So they'll be just trying to know the application, that's it, and how technically strong you are. So that will be depending upon the rules what you project initially. So if we say that at the last, you can able to include like I have knowledge in the deployment process as well, where I used to sit with my LSA. I did not get a chance to directly take the build copy, but I can able to. I usually I participate in the building where we will be taking the build copy. So if you say like this, they'll be asking you very silly questions on the build. Okay, so they'll be just asking you what is the checkbox importance. Okay, if you say that you are really involved in doing this, I mean you are the core person in doing this, they'll be asking you many questions, so which you may not be knowing at that point of time. So deployment will be just an optional. And if you say that you have knowledge, I mean you have at least a knowledge on this, they will be asking you basic things where they might not be knowing as well. Most of the people will not be knowing about all this, and they will be asking you something about agents also theoretically, file listeners theoretically. So they, even they will not be having a chance to work on all this. How are we projecting? So that will be happening. So that should be the important. So suggestion is, don't first include the silly rules at the beginning, like property creation, drop down creation, or the section rule creation. They are very silly things compared to
Okay.
other. So you first include the main rules like data pages, decision rules, activities, data transforms, SLA rules. Okay, and
Okay.
you are confident enough about the types of flow actions. So include something like local action as well. So then they will be they will be thinking that you are well knowledge enough to identify the difference between types of flow actions, and from there they will be asking you about the types of flows. Okay,
Okay.
so these are all the things we can able to add. So
Okay.
you should be understanding, right? So what are all the rules that really important, and what are all the basic rules? So
Yeah, understood.
based on that, you can able to include everything. Okay, so
Okay.
first include the high level rules.
Okay, Jen. And
Mhm.
one more thing, how to identify errors, and so there are some posting options, right? If we are not able to rectify the errors, so how I can work on with the errors?
So for each and everything,
If there
tracer
is
only.
some errors are not understandable to me and I want to rectify myself, so how I can able to work on it?
Yeah, you should be in a position to follow the tracer step by step. So in tracer only, we will be getting each and everything. Okay, but
Okay.
identifying the error in the tracer at particular point of time is easy for us. Why? Because based on the step status fail value, I mean PX method status will be getting either true, good, or bad. So that step status fail will be working for each and every rule. So if you're trying to send one connect rest, but still you are not getting the output, what you will be doing, you'll be putting the tracer, and there you will be seeing something like a connect soap method. So there it will be failing. So if you just open that, if you just see it, it will be saying something like invalid PAN card number. So then you can able to understand.
Okay. Okay, Chandra. And then so the can you explain, give some concepts with the portal and the harness? Hello. Hello.
Hello, Chandra.
Hello. Okay.
I
It's
think he
explaining
can't
it.
hear us. Yeah.
Hi, Chandra. I'm not able to.
Hello, Chandra.
He's teaching, but we are not able to hear at all, right?
Yeah.
Stop.
Chandra, we cannot hear you. No, we can't hear you actually.